Now here's the fun part. We will start weaving. So we are going to weave with the back side of our template, the one with the lines facing us. Then come up with a pattern of your 3 colors that you would like to do across your loom. So maybe rearrange them and decide what you think looks best. So I like this order, so I'm going to lay my strips in that order so that I can remember. So when we weave, we are actually going to weave our pattern strips facing backwards. So the pattern will be facing this way, and we will just be looking at the plain side. And that's because it's easier to see our lines on this back side of the loom. So we are going to alternate between starting over and starting under for each row. So I'm going to start by going over. So I'll go over my first column, and then I'll go under, and then I'll go over, and then I'll tuck it under. I bring it over, and then under. So you can weave it in down here on the loom, because we'll slide each strip of paper up. And it should end over. So it goes every other. Over, under. Now for the next row, do I start over or under? You start under. Now, don't make the mistake that Miss Schreiner keeps making. Make sure that you flip your designed pieces this way. So it will be kind of a surprise. I don't like to look at my weaving until I'm all the way done. It's kind of fun. So you can go under, over, under, over, under, over. Now you might have a different way to weave, so just find whatever feels best for you. And then you'll slide this strip up to the top. Now I'll go to my next color. I'll make sure that I flip it this way. Now I'll start over. So I'm creating a pattern of rows along my columns. And then I'll repeat the pattern. And I'll do this until I've used up all of my strips, or until I can fill my loom. Now if you make a mistake, maybe you accidentally go 2 over or 2 under, that's okay. You can just carefully pull the strip of paper out and try again. And then slide up. So when you reach the end, if you can't fit all of your strips, it's kind of hard to go in and cut, and we might want to make like a fringe detail on the edge. So that's okay, we can just leave this and we'll actually fix it on the other side. I'll show you how. So now let's glue all of our strips into place. So we will do all of our gluing on the back side so that our front side can stay nice and clean. So now find your scissors and your glue and let's get started. So just like we alternated with a pattern every other with our rows, with weaving, we will do that with gluing as well. So all of the rows that we started over, we are going to cut. We are going to trim and glue them right on the paper. All of the rows that we started under, we are going to fold over like tabs and glue them like this so that they wrap around the edge. And these we cut, and then these we fold. So what I like to do is I like to start with either folding over the tabs or cutting, just so that I can remember. So I'm going to start with the folding over. So this might be nice to have a piece of paper underneath so you don't get glue all over your table. But just put some glue on the tab like this. Oops. And then fold it over. This side. And then fold it over. And I'm trimming these, so I go to this side. You could also just put a little bit of glue right here, but you don't know how long the tab is, so I like to just go like this. Fold it over. So make sure that your strips are pulled all the way up to the top if you can. And now that I do that, I see I might actually have room to do this last strip. But if you do, let's see. If you don't have enough room to fill in all of your strips, what you can do is you can actually just glue your last strip like this as a little detail edge, and it will cover up this seam. So I see my paper's ripping a little bit. I don't want that to happen. I'm going to just do that. But I'll get back to what I'm doing. So just make sure that your rows are slid all the way up before you start gluing, because I see I probably should have done that before I did all of this. So then these, oops. So now let's start trimming and gluing our other rows. So I'll just line this up, and then I'll just use my scissors and I'll cut a little bit shorter than the edge of my paper. So something like that. And then here, but it needs to cover this, otherwise it won't have anything to hold on to. Then I'll lift this up and glue that down. Lift this up, glue it down. Make sure that you press down after you glue. I think it's just as important to press down with your glue as it is to like cover this whole space and not use too much. So more glue does not actually help you. Like I just kind of did. Okay, so I'll make sure that everything is glued down. Can move my scraps to the side. I would keep these because we could use them to add shapes to the front too later. So if you find that you weren't able to use all of your strips and you didn't have enough space to weave it in right here, here's what you could do. You could flip this over and you could add a little detail or a border. If you wanted it to match up at the top and the bottom, you could grab one more strip and do that. You could also do this if you just wanted to add it to yours too. You could even cut the strip in half if you wanted a smaller edge too. But I want to cover this up to make sure that my piece stays together. So you can do the same thing that we did with this and fold these over, or you could cut and trim like we also did. I think I'll do the folding over. So I'm actually just going to take my glue stick and run it across the open lines. And I'll line up my strip, glue it down, flip it over, and then glue those caps down. Now, if you want to add a fringe cut, you can do that at the top or the bottom or both. So fringe cut is just small vertical lines next to each other. This kind of makes it look like a rug or a blanket. Be careful that you don't cut all the way through to your other lines, especially now because I have this piece, I'm kind of safe. But if you weaved all the way to the edge and you cut your fringes, you might run into your other lines and kind of break your weaving. So I'm going to be safe and do mine a little bit shorter. And you have your fringe. Now you could use your scraps to make shapes and make patterns to either put in your pattern or above it. You could do the fringe up at the top. You could write something, maybe your name or something about your family, anything you want to do. Anything that makes your weaving special and represent you. So a quick way to fold double of shapes is to fold the paper in half, and then it will make two of one thing. If you keep it connected at the seam right here, and you don't cut all the way through, it actually will stay connected. So you can experiment and try making different shapes. Oh, those look so cool. If you like to draw, you can draw both on your pattern and above if you have any space. Be creative with your scraps. And if you need to take one or two more strips of paper to add to your design, that is fine. So feel free to add anything inside of your squares. If you want to make shapes with construction paper or drawing, you can do that. Be creative with these and have so much fun. When you are done, take a nice clear picture about your work. If you want to record a video or a voice recording explaining your weaving and what makes it special, I would love to hear. I hope you guys have so much fun with this. Can't wait to see your work.